Hiya! So before I actually get into this video, I wanted to say a few things. I had like all this fancy schmancy kind of editing planned to kind of lay the video out a little bit better, but I had a lot of problems in like post-production. I used Premiere and then like just the whole thing just was not working. I even was like on live chat to like 3 different Adobe technicians and none of them could help me, so it was something about this project and I was already in too deep and I didn't want to refilm or re-edit. So the editing's a little bit iffy and it's a little bit all over the place. You know, please give me a like to show it was all worth it. I did the best I could with it. It was stress. It was stress. But yeah, you know, I think it's still quite helpful. I hope you enjoy it anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna go now and leave you to pass Jodie, so I hope you like it. So bye. Thank you for clicking on this video. I'm Jodie. I've had quite a few people message me saying they quite like my videos and you know, they found them quite funny or like helpful, and I just wanted to say like a massive thank you for people who've been watching. Like even people who I don't normally talk to that much have like reached out, and you know, I really appreciate it. So thank you for taking time out of your day, for giving it a watch, or you know, just messaging me, because I can't go out that much now because, well, none of us really can. I thought I wanted to do something where I could kind of hang out on here and just have a little chat. I'm not sure if the audio is going to turn out okay, but if this is on YouTube, then hopefully it's alright. As you can notice, I'm outside in the garden today. It's like 31 degrees here at the moment, so we had a little bit of a heat wave back in May and now we've got one again. So I thought I didn't really want to stay inside, and it was such a beautiful day. Yeah, I hope the audio is okay. I've been saying this like every video because I know there's a slight static, like I do really want to get a microphone, but I'm not sure which one yet. So if anyone's got any opinions or like any suggestions for me to kind of have a research on, please let me know. I really hope the trees rustling isn't too bad. There was a lot of birds squawking earlier and a few police cars going past, so fingers crossed it doesn't happen again whilst I'm actually filming, because it was mainly happening when I was planning this video. So as you can see from the title, I'm going to be discussing how I filmed my Black Lives Matter photographs. I went on the 7th of June. It was a peaceful protest, and I've never done photojournalism before. I'm normally someone who does like portraits, long exposure. It's not something I've ever tried, but it's always something I've wanted to. I'm not a beginner in photography, but you know, I thought these tips could be quite useful to someone who maybe has a camera, or just, you know, just little simple tips that will make it like, I haven't been out properly since about March now, and it's what, the end of June nearly? What's the date today? So it's nearly the end of June and I haven't been out properly. The only place I've been is like Tesco. Very exciting life I lead. Yeah, so I've kind of lost a lot of inspiration and like creative juices over these past few months on what to do. So I kind of just went for it, and I found, even though I've been demotivated and a bit crappy for the past few months, this is like the best stuff I've ever taken, in my opinion. And I've shot a lot over the years, but you know, I think this project I did, this collection of photos, are like the ones I'm most proud of because of what the photos represent and how powerful it was, and just to be, I just feel so honoured to be a part of something like that. I mean, it's awful that we have to protest just for the colour of someone's skin. I just feel so thankful that I could have just been there. It was just really moving to kind of just be around loads of amazing people. I learned a lot of tips when I went to my first protest photojournalism thing. I don't think these tips can just be for protests, but it can just be throughout photojournalism, or just any kind of photography. But I thought these tips would be quite useful to kind of share. So yeah, if you're interested in learning, keep on watching. Also, I want to do a little Instagram plug. So my Instagram is jodie.shoots. I'll show a little clip of it here, and it'll be linked down below, and you can see kind of some of the photos I took. I've also linked my website down below where you can see like all the photos I took. It's like my portfolio of stuff. But yeah, I hope you like, and just keep on watching if you're interested in finding out some tips. So before I get into like how I actually shot my stuff, I wanted to kind of say that I was morally ethical as possible. It's always important to be respectful of your surroundings when you're doing photographs, when you're partaking in capturing photographs, no matter where you are, if you're in like a public space, but especially within protests. I wanted to stay out of the way, but I still wanted to be there in person to support. All of my photos are completely like organic and they're not staged at all. This is the problem with shooting outside. You just get your airplanes, you get your magpies, your birds. Protests for me, I find, can be quite nerve-wracking. I'm quite an anxious person in general when it comes to being in loud public spaces, and especially since I hadn't been out in public in months, I wanted to make sure I was prepared. And the London ones had been very peaceful. I had heard a few stories where it started to get a little bit iffy when the night kind of came, like around 6 p.m. So I wanted to make sure I went early, kind of stayed till around 4 or 5, and then kind of just went. So yeah, for my equipment and the settings. So for my camera, I'm using this camera that I'm currently filming on. I have the Canon 750D. This will work for any bog standard DSLR camera. You can use an iPhone, but I'll just go over the DSLR I used. I'd say it's more of an intermediate one. I believe it cost around 600, but that was like a special offer for the body of the camera and 2 lenses, which was the kit lens and a 50mm lens, which was a pretty good deal at the time. And I've had this camera for 2 years, and it's my baby. Has a flip out screen. I took 3 lenses, so I've got my kit lens, which is the 18 to 55. I've got a 50mm lens, but I did find I only used 1, which was annoying because a lot of the weight on my back, but it's better to be safe than sorry, right? So I took this 75 to 300mm lens. The reason I use it is it's very zoomy. It also has autofocus and manual focus. So I got this lens for my birthday. I believe it is around £110, which is a pretty cheap lens. I know it may sound expensive to some people, but a lot of the lenses, when I was doing research for like a big zoom lens, always in like the £1,000 region, and I was like,
help me, I'm poor.
No. I discovered this lens when I was at university and I was doing my dissertation film. It was called Adaption, and I was filming with a lot of animals, and I wanted to shoot animals from far away, obviously. So this was the lens I used, and I did fall in love with it. I don't see a lot of people talking about it online because they're always like, oh yes, get this £2,000 lens or this £5,000 camera, and I'm like, I am a student, I have no money.
Help me, I'm poor.
No. But yeah, this lens is actually really, really, really good. You know, for your, if you're a beginner or even just like starting out or whatnot, it's great. I think the reason why it's not too well spoken about is because the f-stop, because it doesn't. I don't think it works too well in low light. I think that's what I found anyway. But for your average portraits or just, I found it was just worked so perfectly for the protest. Not just that, it's served me well in the past. If you want to take photos from far away, this is your lens, honestly, and it's really, really lightweight. So the next thing in my equipment bag is I took loads of batteries. I have 3 batteries for my camera. I have my original Canon one, and then I bought like 2 extra ones, I believe, on Amazon. I will link everything down below, all the products and stuff. I'm not there's no affiliate links or anything like that, I just find them on Amazon for you. Another thing I would suggest, well not suggest, but I didn't use it personally, but it might be good for some people, is I have a really small tripod lens. Because you're going to be, whilst you're filming in the protests and stuff, it's going to be a lot of high action, and you don't want to have a lot of weight on you. This is the bag for my tripod I use now. My tripod is it's not heavy, but it's bulky, and you don't want to be carrying a tripod around, and you're not going to be shooting with one, because you're just going to be shooting like here, there and everywhere. You don't really want to be using something like that. But I mean, if you do plan on shooting, say for example, like you're standing like from a top of a building or like car park or like just a high level, you may want a tripod just to kind of balance, maybe, I'm not sure. This is a really good one. Again, it's quite cheap. I'm pretty sure it was cheap anyway. It's just a little one. I know a lot of vloggers use this one. I think that's probably why I got it, even though I don't vlog, but like, just kind of I don't know, it might be worth it for some people, I don't know. I didn't take mine, but if you're interested, it might be what you're looking for. One other tip I would suggest is when you're using your camera, use the strap. Wrap it around your arm, like this, or like make sure you have it around your neck at all times. You just never know, you know, someone might accidentally hit you, or not accidentally, and you know, that's how your camera goes walkies and smashes. I know it may sound like obvious, but I mean, I've seen some people not even bother using the strap, and I've seen them crack a lens, and it's just not a pretty time. So for the settings, I used a continuous shutter on my camera. Everyone was moving, marching so fast, so I wanted to make sure I got the shot. I didn't shoot in RAW for the image quality. The continuous shutter and RAW files do not mix together. I can't remember the exact one, but I'll show you here. So it was like just the one below RAW, because I didn't want my camera to jam or like kind of have like a brain freeze for a second. You know, there's a million things happening around you, so I wanted to make sure it was all 100% at the time. For the mode, I believe I shot in auto, just again because I was moving in and out of different areas. There was one point it was raining, one point it was sunny, one point it was dark, one point it was light. I kind of just had it in auto. Sometimes I did have it on landscape, but sometimes the white balance went a bit iffy. I found that auto for me was the best. I know it's not the best setting, and I know people probably shoot in manual all the time are like, oh, but I don't know. If I knew my image quality was going to be okay, I knew I could play about with my colours a bit later on in Photoshop and Lightroom, so that's kind of the way I wanted to shoot. I do recommend playing about with different modes on your camera if you have never before. Like for example, the action one is pretty good. You can play around with the aperture, ISO and the shutter speed and whatnot. Another reason I really liked using my 70-300 lens was the depth of field on it is just, it's just sent from the heavens. It's just so depthy. It really isolates the subject from the background, and it's just so stunning. Like there's this one photo I took of this girl, and she had like a hat on and a mask, and she's like looking up at the rain, and it kind of like all the background around her went all buttery, and it's just, I really love that photo because it's just, it really shows the depth lens can do. Another thing that was really great about using this lens was I could keep my distance from people. I mean, this can shoot really far away, so I was able to kind of focus in on people's emotions and stuff without kind of breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. With the phone, don't get me wrong, I use my phone for photography sometimes, but yeah, don't hate me, I've got a 6S, don't come for me. But I know on the, is it the 11? I think it's the 11, the one with the 3 cameras, the new one. I know that one's really stunning to shoot with. I love the portrait mode on it, that is. Yeah, you don't need to use a DSLR to shoot amazing photos. I just kind of wanted to show you over what I used, because someone else was asking me what kind of camera I use and whatnot, so I thought I'd kind of share it in this video. But yeah, if you ever wanted to take your photography up a level and kind of shoot from afar, make sure you check your settings before you go, because you don't want to be standing there and just being like, oh, is this working? Does that work? While like everything is happening around you. You want to be in the action 100% as soon as you get there. So other things to consider when you're shooting is the composition and like the angles and stuff. So for example, when I first got there to the protest, I went to Vauxhall train station, and there's like a little bridge when you come outside, and I thought, I went up there to kind of gather my surroundings and stuff because there was just people absolutely everywhere. And I managed to get some really cool photos, I believe, of like a paramedic, and she was like marching through the crowds, and you can really see her like giving it some really stunning photos. And it's always great to kind of get a different perspective and not just kind of like, another way I shot was like low to high, like I crouched down and kind of like held the camera like that, and I could flip out my screen and see what I was doing. It kind of makes the subject look more powerful, and it makes the image overall kind of tell a better story. So another thing to think about is, what's the story? What kind of story are you trying to tell? What kind of story are you trying to create? For example, when I was out, I was thinking about emotion. What kind of emotions can I capture? A lot of people, in fact most people, I'd say like 90% of the crowd was wearing masks. So I was trying to capture a lot of emotion through the eyes, and obviously like the way people were holding their signs. There were some people that had some amazing signs, like really amazing signs. Favourite photo I took was this lady, and she was holding like a triangle sign, and it said "Let us breathe." I'll put a photo of it here, and like those ones really kind of stand out. Focusing on the people who had really cool signs and their emotions and stuff, and how they held their signs. That was one thing I was kind of thinking about when I was in the protest, thinking about emotion, what kind of stories, look at the signs. Shouting and chanting, clapping, you know, motion and stuff was very, very important. Another tip I wanted to share for like composition and stuff is about distance. So I've already mentioned about like using my long lens for like long distances and stuff. Basically, when I mean distance, is basically, are you at the back of the march? Are you at the front? If you go to the front of the march, you can capture people walking towards you, you know? Especially like walking towards you and you crouch down a bit. It's a good shot. I think if you just have those main points in your mind, just kind of what story are you trying to tell? What emotions can you see? What emotions, like actions, can you see? Things like that. Those kind of things will help you kind of get your help you kind of guide you. So another thing I wanted to discuss was what I wore. This ain't no fashion video, I just think it's really important to discuss what to wear to protests. As you may have seen it from other people kind of discussing it, it's really, really important to wear dark clothing, just to kind of not be distinguished from a crowd. Like if you're wearing, say, hot pink in a crowd full of like people wearing just black clothes, it's a bit, you know, it's always good to kind of blend in with everyone else when it comes to protests. So what I wore to the protest was I wore like a casual black jumper, I wore some shorts and some black shorts and some black tights. So my number one tip, no matter what you wear, is make sure you have pockets. It's definitely good to have pockets for your lens caps. Because so many things are happening around you, you might just need to whip it on quickly to protect it, or just keep it somewhere safe instead of just fiddling, putting it back in your bag. Very important pockets, obviously, for your phone and your batteries and whatnot, just to kind of keep them close by. Also, I've seen people have like a string connected to the lens, like kind of so it just kind of hangs down. Does that make sense? I'm sure they're probably cheap. I should probably get one, but I haven't lost a lens cap so far, so you know, don't jinx out. I also would say do not wear headphones. This kind of is an obvious reason, I suppose, but like it's important to kind of be aware of the surroundings around you. Even if you just have one headphone, you know, it just can take 1 second for something to go wrong. Protests can be intense situations, and the atmosphere can go 0 to 100 really quickly. So it's always good to kind of keep an eye on what's going on around you. And the last thing I'd say of what to take is water. You don't want to be dehydrated. No shops are bloody open in COVID. Well, they are now, but you know what I mean, like just always have water around you. So the last thing I wanted to discuss was the editing I did for my photos. So what I did is I imported all mine to Lightroom, because I'm not gonna lie, I hadn't used Lightroom for a hot minute. It's not something I ever kind of liked, but I realise now it's because I was using the Lightroom Classic. I always found it it's just a bit awkward, you know. I don't know, man. The garden is so pretty to film in, but it's very noisy. I imported all my images into Lightroom. I'm not gonna lie, I'm no expert at Lightroom. This was the first proper time I used Lightroom, but what I did, the main things I liked playing was the hues and the saturation. For example, that photo I was talking about again with the Let Us Breathe triangle sign, I increased the red hues to kind of make that more saturated, but not the rest of the photo. But yeah, just playing with those. Sometimes I played around with some of the presets, like the ones included in Lightroom. I also found that using black and white filter was very, very effective. As you may have seen throughout other photojournalism photography, black and white is like mad powerful. I only used Photoshop for one of my photos properly, and it was just to kind of get the Black Lives Matter sign right in the middle instead of on the side, so it looked more focused on the middle. When I was trying to import my stuff to Instagram, sometimes the quality would go from here to like on the floor. So I had to do a lot of research on that, and I would recommend you doing it yourself as well. Maybe this is a me problem, I don't know. I'm going to leave some materials in the description below, such as petitions that haven't reached their goals yet, places you can donate to, and like some ways you can educate yourself and people around you. There's also this YouTube playlist, I'll see if I can find it and link it as well, where you can kind of just leave it on in the background and it makes all the AdSense to a person, and they donate it to Black Lives Matter movement charities and stuff. I know this is probably going to be a long video. I really wanted to share my tips for people. I mean, I'm not a professional photographer, but these photos really helped me, and I'm also kind of gaining attention from people who kind of want to use my photos for things, which is really, really cool. So if any of you are watching this, thank you. I hope this video was helpful. Please remember to check out my Instagram, Jodie.Shoots. I've got my website, which is the same, jodieshoots.com. So thank you very, very much for watching. Please give it a like and subscribe if you like to. You know, I'm very new at this and it's something I really am interested in doing. Like, I've been really enjoying learning to edit and just film and kind of hang out with people. So, yeah, man. But yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye.